One of my goals with Pivot Ball Change was within the first year, I wanted to be able to monetize my podcast in some sort of way. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted that to look like. But having listened to a lot of podcasts, I knew that there was this thing called sponsorships, right? I would hear these ads in podcasts and they were becoming more and more prevalent. And so I was able to monetize it, and I was able to book 2 sponsors within that first year. And they were able to sponsor at a higher level than the going rate in the industry, if you will. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions about podcasting is that you have to have 10,000 downloads before you can open up that level of being able to get sponsors. And that's just not true. So I was able to think outside of the box, and I've found in business is if I want something to happen, I have to make it happen. I have to put myself out there. I have to create the opportunities for myself. And that's exactly what I did. So funny story about landing that first sponsor for myself. I had interviewed a woman who is very well known in the dance industry. She's a mentor. She's actually local to Wisconsin, but she's nationally known around here. And she was a great podcast guest. And one night, my husband and I were watching Shark Tank. Do you guys have Shark Tank?
Yeah, we have Dragon's Den. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So you're familiar. So
Different animal, but yeah.
We were watching Shark Tank, and there were these 2 moms that were on the show, and they were dancers, and they had invented a sock for dancers, a compression sock specifically designed for a dancer's foot to give them more support, help them have longer careers. My husband jokingly said to me, "Are you going to have them sponsor the podcast?" And, it was late at night after we put the kids to bed. Like, I'm half asleep, and I was just kind of like, oh, yeah. Well, then the next morning I woke up and I was like,
yeah,
why not? Right? Yeah, they're two moms. They have a product that is directly correlated to what my podcast is all about. Let's give it a go, right? So I start digging, and I start doing the background work, and I start being due diligent about who these 2 women are. And with the tools of social media, which I think can be a curse and a blessing, but I was able to find that we had a common friend, and it was this woman that had been on my podcast. And so
handy.
I contacted her, and very busy woman, right? And I said, hey, any chance you know these 2 women that were on Shark Tank? She responded right away and said, yep, here's their email. I'm going to connect you. I think you'd be great. Those 2 women that own the company, they ended up being guests on my podcast. After they were guests on my podcast, they reached out to me and said, here's my personal cell phone number. Call me at this time. We want to talk. And of course, when anybody says we want to talk, you always think the worst, or at least I do, right? And I'm like,
what did I do? Yeah.
Right. And, like copyright and everything like that. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But I got on the phone with them, and they said, we want to sponsor your podcast. And I was
Amazing.
just like, oh my gosh. And so that's the power of, call it what you want. Call it the power of motherhood. Call it the power of connection. Call it the power of putting yourself out there and creating the opportunities that wouldn't be possible had you not created them for yourself. So that was a really big moment, was to be able to get paid for my new art form.